name is Taylor Dixon. I have been asked to present my findings on why electing a HSR or Health and Safety representative would be beneficial to Aussie Herbs. Firstly, a HSR or Health and Safety representative is someone who has been elected to act on behalf of the work group in relation to all health and safety matters. As you may be aware, there has been a request put forward by a fellow worker that a HSR be elected. A company is not required to have a HSR unless requested by a fellow worker, which is why Aussie Herbs hasn't previously had the requirement for one. However, as the request has been made, it is now a legal requirement of Aussie Herbs to elect a HSR. Today I'll go over some of the benefits of electing a HSR, as also how the process is laid out to elect a HSR. So what are going to be the benefits of electing a health and safety representative? Well, there are many benefits that work in favour of both the employee and the employer. By electing a HSR, you're giving employees a voice, which may not have previously been there. This increases employee involvement and turns around to make employees feel more comfortable and supported in the workplace. It also allows workers to identify potential safety risks with the HSR that they can then pass on to management for action to be taken. These risks may not have previously been identified by management, as they may not experience these risks firsthand. For example, lifting of heavy boxes from the pallet jack to the milling machine without assistance. These are activities that are done every day by the milling team, but are not necessarily seen or are done by management. This information then gives the management the opportunity to strengthen their risk and safety controls. Among the benefits is a financial benefit. Having a HSR assists the company to reduce the number of accidents and injuries within the workplace, which prevents associated costs related to those injuries, as well as days off work for employees, which generally decrease the productivity of the business as a whole. If one person is away, someone else has to fill that position from a different department, and that person then has to be replaced as well, and so on and so forth. Another fantastic benefit is it increases productivity and efficiency in employees. So whilst there are some costs in electing a HSR, the benefits truly outweigh them. Under the Work Health and Safety legislation, the health and safety representatives are given certain powers and functions to assist them in their role. As previously mentioned, the main function of HSR is to represent the workers on health and safety matters within the workplace, but they also have the right to exercise other functions as they see fit. These include monitoring the measures taken by the employer, investigating any complaints from their work group members, and looking into anything that might be considered a health and safety risk to the workers that they represent. In order to exercise these powers and functions, the HSR can inspect the work areas, make a request to the regulator that they attend the workplace, and accompany that inspector. They can also represent the work group member in a health and safety committee if one was to be formed. There are two more extreme powers that the HSR possesses, which are to stop work from being performed if there is immediate risk to the health and safety of the workers they represent, and to issue a provisional improvement notice, also known as a PIN, which they believe the employer has breached, if they believe that the employer has breached the Work Health and Safety Act. A HSR has the right to exercise their powers whenever they see fit and has immunity for anything done or omitted in good faith during the course of their duties. In order to be a HSR, you must be a member of the work group who elected you, and you must not have been disqualified for performing the HSR role. A HSR can only be disqualified from the role if a court or tribunal decides you have used a power incorrectly or disclosed information for improper use. Once a HSR is elected, they hold that position for a period of 3 years unless the person resigns, stops working within the work group that they represent, or are disqualified as a HSR previously, or removed from the position by a majority no confidence vote of the work group. There are 5 steps to electing a HSR. This graph shows the processes that need to be taken. Step 1, ask for an election. Step 2, begin negotiations for the work groups. Step 3, notify workers. Step 4, elect the HSR. And step 5, notify the work groups of the outcome from the election. So I'll break these down a little bit more. Step 1, ask for an election. Once a worker has requested that a HSR be appointed by the business owner, the business owner is required to do so by law. Any worker may request this, which is why we are here today. Step 2, begin the negotiations for work groups. A work group is defined as a group of people who work together within the workforce. For example, the sales department is one work group and the milling department are a separate work group. A HSR represents the work group to which they belong. The business owner has 14 days from receiving the request to begin the negotiations. If the negotiations fail or the business manager does not start negotiations within the 14 days, anyone who is involved in the negotiations can ask that a Safe Work New South Wales representative be involved in the situation.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Specifically, what work groups would you recommend for Aussie Herbs?
So I would recommend having a work group for the sales department, one for the warehouse, one for the milling and processing department, one for dispensary, and probably one for packing as well, because it's quite a large department. I think if you had a work group for each of those sectors, it would be well and truly cover the health and safety of the entire group, the entire employees.
Okay.
Does that clear up your question?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. So, step 3. As soon as the outcome has been reached, the business owner or principal must notify the workers of the outcome. Step 4. Electing a HSR. The procedure for electing a HSR in each work group can vary depending on the work group and its members. However, the procedure must be in accordance with the requirements specified in Part 5 of the Work Health and Safety Act 2011. The business owner or principal must provide any required resources, facilities, or assistance that are necessary for elections to be conducted. Each work group member is entitled to 1 vote in the election. And finally, step 5, notify the work group of the outcome. The person who conducted the election must advise the work group members and the business owner of the results of the elections as soon as possible. Once the HSR has been elected, a HSR can request training in the legislation to better fulfil their role. The business owner or principal must allow the representative to attend training within 3 months of this request. The company must pay all course fees and other expenses related to the HSR attending training. The HSR is also entitled to receive the same pay they would receive as if they were carrying out their normal duties. HSRs are also entitled to attend a 1-day refresher course each year during their term in office. It is beneficial for the HSR to get the training, so then the company gets the full benefit out of why they have elected somebody. Now, there are obligations that fall on the business owner or principal when it comes to health and safety representatives. Now, these include consultations with the HSR, providing access to health and safety information, allowing any HSR to be present during an interview concerning work health and safety matters, providing resources, facilities and assistance to the HSR in order for them to complete their duties. Permit a HSR to accompany inspector during the inspection of a workplace, liaise with HSR on any health and safety matters, allow a HSR as much time as necessary to perform their powers and functions, and pay the HSR the same amount of money that they were entitled to when performing their normal duties. A HSR should not be disadvantaged for taking on this very important role. So in conclusion, a HSR or health and safety representative is someone who has been elected to act on behalf of the work group in relation to health and safety matters. Some benefits of the HSR are fantastic in increasing productivity, reducing number of incidents within the workplace, among many more. And whilst the business owner may find it daunting at first, I believe you'll find a great deal of value in the election of a HSR, and I'm always here to help with the process. Now, there are some more sources from which you can get more information, such as the Work Health and Safety Act 2011, Work Health and Safety Regulations 2011, and the Code of Practice, Work Health and Safety Cooperation and Coordination. I've also written down here the Safe Work New South Wales website and their contact number in case you needed extra information. But please feel free to ask me any questions, and together I think we can make the process of electing a HSR an easy and very beneficial one. Thank you.